We've already said
Go
boom,
now.
boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
go.
Denny Lane just died a couple months ago.
Yeah, saw that. I was saddened by that news. Good morning, Michael Knight. We are live on our little radio network here as we get ready to tackle another week.
Another week of decisions by the Supreme Court, and another week of Donald Trump. He had a noon press conference at Mar-a-Lago following the complete and utter endorsement of Donald Trump as a candidate for Colorado and any other state like Maine or Illinois that wants to have him on the ballot. And he did not prepare remarks. He just came out and did this word salad. They used to write speeches for him and he used to edit them and add to them. And now there's no point because no matter what he says, no matter what nonsense he spouts, people who love him more. Did you understand what he said? No, God, but I love just love to hear him talk.
Well, that's part of the mystique is that you really don't have to understand what he says. You know
And
what it is.
he can change his mind anytime he wants. I know I said yesterday that I was never going to drive a Chevrolet, but now I'm ordering Chevrolets for everybody in America.
Yeah,
Everybody has to
and
drive a
you put
Chevrolet.
down there with your checkbook.
And you should have seen this coming. You knew I was going to change my mind.
You know, I saw something over the weekend. So I think it was Friday. I was watching, I made the mistake of watching something. And it's always where this all starts is I watch something or I read something. And the next thing you know, I'm upset about something.
Then you
So
cascade into depression.
yeah, yeah. So he was videotaped saying, some reporter asked him about the 16-week abortion ban. And he arrogantly looked into the camera and said, I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
And when I decide, then I'll know.
And I was like, wait a second. This is an issue that deals with the Constitution. It deals with women's rights to health care. It deals with so many different facets of our lives. And yet he hasn't decided yet. So when he decides what's good for the country, then the Republicans will fall in line and take up his thoughts,
Well,
which
that's the
is nothing
problem.
new.
See,
It's been going on now for years.
it's like you're the head of
But
my cult, and I don't know what you've decided yet, so I don't know what to believe until you decide what you want to believe, and then I know what I must believe.
believe you me, you're right. But the whole audacity of it. I mean, he should have had a crown and a robe on and just said, I will decree when I think it's the right time or the right amount of time or this or that or the other thing. I will decide it. And I was of all the things, the stupid stuff that I've heard him say, for some reason this got to me. It set me off because I guess it was just the audacity of somebody to say that it's his right to decide. It's his idea to decide these things. He makes the decision.
He always has the option to change his mind, but until then, his decision is your decision.
How could you how could you how could you be a woman and vote for this guy?
Well, you forget the God sent Donald Trump as a prophet to change America and to fight the thousand-year war against Satan and to ruin everything, and also to become like Richard Orban, to model our government after Hungary. That's what God
Yeah,
wants, Vinny. That's what God wants.
who's down there now visiting him in Mar-a-Lago? Those two are getting together, feasting on some wild boar, and both being wild boars. I mean, it's just
I think Richard Orban is a cannibal. I believe he brings fresh flesh from Hungary.
well, I don't know if that's the kind of flesh that Donald would want, but I think that Slapdick would definitely want some kind of flesh from Hungary. You know, uh, it's just it's so offended me to hear the way he cavalierly said that. It so offended me to hear somebody um, slough off somebody's right to health care, somebody's right to receive attention to a problem, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. That's not the point. The point is that people have a right to access that health care.
Well, as long as we agree that men have the ability to control women's bodies to the point of death, as long as you're
But
willing to
that's
agree
it.
with that, Vinny.
Yeah, but you see, that's it. That's exactly what that represented to me. That sentence, that piece of videotape, that piece of him talking was every disgusting thing that I've ever heard any guy say about a woman in regarding to I'm going to go home and slap my wife around. I'm gonna, I'm gonna beat him up, or this or that, or I'll control her. I'll lock her in the closet. It's Connie Corleone in the bathroom screaming, throwing dishes around. I mean, it's everything represented all in that one sentence. And it so disgusted me. It so reviled me. It so um, disturbed me that I spent part of the weekend pondering how any woman who has any amount of self-respect could possibly vote for this guy or encourage anybody else to vote for him.
Well, part of the following of Donald Trump is that you surrender your self-respect and you surrender your own ability to surmise and to conclude and to come to your own opinion on anything. Your opinion is worthless and the effort is futile. Find out what he believes and you believe it too. That's what it's like to have the Führer. Der Führer knows. The Führer says no babies. The Führer says no babies.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's a century, more than a century of women and people, not just women, fighting for equal rights for women, equal rights for people of color. It's centuries of this, and
It's
this
happened before, and
Neanderthal, this knuckle dragging mother jumper, uh,
Mother Jumper.
destroys it all in one sentence.
Don't be stupid. Be a smarty. Come and join the Nazi party. Keep it
Yeah,
moving.
I just it's against every bone in my body to hear that and to feel like somebody wants to elect this guy president again.
Well, here's what you do to make yourself feel better. I did it an hour ago. I voted. I'm taking my ballot and Christian's ballot down, putting it in the drop box in front of the city hall here in Pasadena, and that will make you there. You got it too. That's the
How
only
funny
solution.
is that?
It's the only solution, Vin. It's the only thing that you can do. It's the only solution. It's the only debate that
Now,
you can win.
I was going to ask you, and actually do this somewhat publicly because I have, you have an intriguing choice now. I don't know if you have this in California. Evidently, they've changed the law here so that now you can vote for either Democrat or Republican,
Mm-hmm.
either one. You just have to, um, let's see, if you mark Democratic Party on your return envelope, that's how you determine what party you're on, is you have this envelope and you check off Democratic or Republican. Um, if you mark Democratic Party on your return envelope and voted on the Republican ballot, no vote for either party will count. That's number one. All right, I can go with that. But there's also something here that says if you mark that, here it is. I declare that my party preference is the Democratic Party, and I will not participate in the nomination process of any other political party for the 2024 presidential election.
Okay.
So, does that mean that if I put a vote here for, let's just say Chris Christie, he's on the ballot still. Let's
Now,
say,
not after declaring Democrat.
no. Let's say I declare Republican
Okay.
and I go out and I vote for Chris Christie. He's a Republican.
Right.
But now, tonight, I go down to the Biden headquarters and I start making phone calls and encouraging people to come out and vote for Joe Biden in the primary.
That's okay.
I'm participating in the process, right?
You are you're not voting, you're just campaigning.
Yeah, it should just be a little more clearer than it is.
Well, can you not declare a party and vote some for Republicans and some for Democrats?
No, there's only one. There's only the presidentials on here, so you only get one vote.
And to vote for a presidential candidate, you have to declare a party.
Yes, you have to declare a party.
Okay.
Or I guess if you're already registered as a Democrat and you voted for a Democrat, that would be okay. That's unclear too.
Well, if you don't declare a party and you vote, you choose a candidate, but you didn't declare Republican or Democrat.
Then it doesn't count.
Well, then that's the way it goes.
So
you said they changed the rules. At least there are rules.
And I wonder if, on top of that, if I check off Republican Party on this envelope and then vote for a Republican, does that change my registration? Because I'm registered as a Democrat.
I don't think it does.
So if I do that, because I'm really considering just dropping a vote here. I mean, Joe Biden's going to win this thing. He doesn't need my vote on the Democratic side. There's no way he's not going to win.
That's a very dangerous attitude to be taking this year.
Well, his competition is Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, and uncommitted delegates.
Well, Marianne Williamson's already dropped out of the race.
Yeah, so is Chris Christie. But on the Republican side, you could conceivably vote for Nikki Haley and help her chances to get a big number and continue to be a pain in the ass to Donald Trump.
Well,
now, yeah, the general election, that's not what you would do. But this is the primary election. No, the general election, you would vote. You would, vote for whoever you wanted to vote for.
Peace and freedom. You have to. By the way, are your choices Democrat and Republican, or do you have peace and freedom in the Green Party and all the
just
others?
Democrat and Republican. And I don't know why this is, because there's also going to be caucuses
in Washington State.
In Washington State, I don't know why, unless they changed the whole system while I was gone. But when I left, there was caucuses because I was elected a representative to a caucus.
And how did that work? People gathered together and cast their votes.
Gathered together on a Saturday at the local school, and different people made their case for who they thought should be the nominee. And I remember that I was there for Obama. That tells you how long ago it was.
And before you went to Pittsburgh.
It was before I went to Pittsburgh. So I guess this whole thing has changed, and I'm just not sure what I want to do here. Should I just check it off for Joe Biden, put it in the envelope, and that's it? That's all, or should I cross over, vote for Nikki Haley, or vote for Chris Christie? I mean, I know it's.
You might as well vote for. If you're going to vote for Chris Christie, you might as well vote for Biff Sugarman. But voting for Chris Christie is like voting for Biff Sugarman.
Right. So I guess I'd probably vote for Nikki Haley here.
This is not a good time to be throwing away your vote.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't. It does. Yeah, I mean, it's going to count more if it's Nikki Haley against Trump. Because if she can get, I don't know, 40% of the Washington State vote, Republican vote, maybe it makes her a little bit more viable. She won DC over the weekend.
Well, she's got to make a very strong demonstrative showing in Super Tuesday tomorrow, or else she's done. Not officially, but just in terms of what political pundits say, you're done.
Yeah, and the money is going to keep rolling in right now for her because um, she is, and I love this because Trump is the guy that always talks about it, but she's the revenge vote. She is because she gets to trump people like her.
So you know what? She's his retribution.
Well, she is our retribution for those of us who don't like Trump, and or especially if you're a Republican and you don't like Trump, you put a little dot there next to Nikki Haley's name, and you hope against hope that somehow, some way, she makes a good enough showing to make people think a little bit. Although I would contend to you that the people that are voting for Donald Trump aren't thinking at all.
They haven't thought a little bit since they flunked algebra in high school.
Yeah,
And they only
for the
and they
most
only
part, they're gay.
and they only gave that a cursory glance, talking about thinking a little bit.
So it's an interesting conundrum. I
I
think
saw
I'm going
something.
to wind up.
I saw something last night that absolutely explained what's going on in our country, and I don't know how we can forget it, but we've forgotten it hundreds of times, and we'll forget it 100 more times before we finally remember why we're so fucked up.
Oh, tell me.
The Civil War. Ken Burns' 25-year anniversary ran last night on PBS in a pledge drive. I look
Yeah,
back at the production of it with the editors and the producers and the music and the choice of photographs and the production technique and everything that came with it. And this country, when it was founded, was on a collision course with both sides of the slavery issue until it was settled in the Civil War, which was not settled.
yeah.
That was the event that brought us to the point where we killed 750,000 of our own people in our own yards, in our own fields, in our own cities, in our own farms. We murdered each other as quickly and as efficiently as anyone has ever done it before. The bloodiest war we've ever fought was against us. We never settled a thing by doing it. Grant defeated Lee. They signed the agreement. They started the reconstruction, and everything that happened before started happening again. And it's still going on. We never settled anything. We killed as many of us as we could. We slaughtered and ruined our nation to the point of it was teetering on the edge of existence. And we're still there. We never advanced beyond it. We're still at war with one another. The idea that the white angry male in rural America has rights that supersede anyone else's, granted by God, cursing the black man, cursing the brown man, cursing anyone from another nation, cursing any foreigner who ever set foot on this land. We are the murderers of the planet, and we mostly want to kill each other. And we've never shaken that urge, and we've never moved past it. And that's why Donald Trump resonates so well with the angry white housewife who gets into her minivan and drives to the market and curses life and curses opportunity and curses her fellow man to the point of the most fiery hatred that's on this planet. And that's who we are. We've never gotten past it. We never will. We are the country that's at war with itself.
Well, and yeah, it's hard to argue that, Michael. It's hard to argue against that. It's, I mean, time and time again, you see it when these people are interviewed. Time and time again, you see it. These guys, women, people, reporters go out and interview people at these Trump rallies, and what you see is a bunch of angry people.
Full of
People who
certainty.
have more than most people on the planet. People who have a roof over their head, probably have some money in the bank, they're driving a couple of year old car, but they're upset. They're mad because they feel like they're getting screwed. They feel like the Republicans have pounded into their head that some guy with skin darker than them is going to
Mhm.
come and take their job or take their house or take their kid or
Take
take
everything.
something from them.
Take everything from them.
And I don't, I don't know what you do to combat that because the first thing you need to do, this goes back to something that we've talked about for years, Michael. How do you combat that when you have a populace who is uneducated? How do you
And like
combat that through
and likes being ignorant
facts?
and enjoys their own ignorance more than anyone can believe. You're an
Yeah,
ignorant idiot. Yes, but I enjoy it.
I mean they can't. So many of them can't tell you where a particular state is. They go by what they see on Fox or what they see on here or watch on YouTube or on the internet or on Facebook or what their friends tell them, and that's what they use to determine how they vote, to determine how they feel, to determine so many things that affect their lives.
And they get a twisted way of the world that they're committed to, and that's it. They never budge from it.
Well, if you keep believing that you're getting screwed every day by somebody, eventually you keep that thought process going.
And you have to be willing to lie to yourself. The South did not lose the war. The war was not about slavery. The North promulgated these falsehoods, and the South suffered for it. And Shelby Foote, who's the Southerner who was the one of the top historians that was used by Ken Burns in the Civil War, said, "You have to understand that the Southern man lost that war and never got over it. Never got over it. The white man lost to the black man in their mind. Black man won the war. The Southerner lost the war. Their resentment is worth thousands of years of resentment, and they'll never release it. They'll never undo their grip. They'll
Yeah.
never evolve past it, and they don't want to."
Well, it's for many people that are in that situation, it's the only type of passion they feel about anything anymore. They don't feel passion in their marriages. They don't feel passion about external things that stimulate them. And along comes Orange Jesus, and he stimulates them. He makes them get up out of their armchairs. He
Like a
makes them
prophet.
send 25.95 to P.O. Box Schlappme in Schlappme, Minnesota, for a T-shirt or
I think Mikey and Vinnie should have a mailing address in Battle Creek, Michigan for T-shirts and
or
the
yeah,
prayer cloth.
or all of that kind of stuff. It's a sense of belonging to something. For so many years, these people felt like they've been either taken advantage of or they feel like they haven't been heard. They feel like nobody cares about them.
And now we can hear them and they're ignorant shits. We didn't want to hear what they had to say, and we were right.
And you could and along comes Donald Trump and he's standing up there saying, I hear you. I am your retribution.
I'm an ignorant shit too. Watch me go. Watch me raise
Yeah,
money.
I won't say he's ignorant. He's a con man, and you can't be a con man if you're ignorant. I don't think. You have to be at least smarter than the people you're conning, don't you?
Well, he's the one who referenced the airport that was raided during the Revolutionary War. the, the Americans took the airport away from the
Yes.
British.
He has trouble with timelines, certainly.
He has trouble with
Um,
a number of things,
yeah,
and
I
he
think,
speaks it with a fork and knife.
and I think people, I think the people that are in his camp, are in his corner, don't care about, because that's the price of admission to the club.
And nobody cares if he's right or wrong. He's going to, or if he changes his mind, or if he sounds ridiculous, or if he calls the lieutenant governor candidate in North Carolina Martin Luther King on steroids.
No, nobody cares.
And that was just this weekend. We'll never remember that one. It'll be gone in another couple of days. But something else that he'll say that will supplant it.
That's the price we pay for stupidity.
Stupidity mingling with a 24-hour news cycle.
Right. That's the price we pay for not teaching civics in school anymore, for not teaching government, for not teaching how history works in its true sense, not in its cleaned up sense.
How do you think they teach the Civil War in Tennessee, in Arkansas, in Texas?
I'd say a lot different than they do in New York. But that's when your education system is based not on what you know, but based on how quickly we can move you through the system. That's what you get. When you're
not going to need history, you're not going to need algebra, you're not going to need calculus. Why? Well, you're a Republican, aren't you? Yeah. Well, come on now. Let's go.
Yeah. You don't you're kept in ignorance, and it's to these people's advantage for them to show you a shiny object and keep your attention on that while they do what they want to do.
There was nobody more right than George Orwell. He was the rightest man in the world. And he was, of course, his ideas were rejected as being fanciful. But he's the most right man on the planet.
Well, he seemed to be onto something, and he was either onto something, or the Republicans looked at his playbook and said, "We can do this.
We can use this. I think we can use this."
They read his books, and they said, "We can work with this." And so you have this mean-spirited bunch of people bent on revenge, who are not interested in governing our country, are not interested in making the average person's life better, easier.
France just made itself the first nation to make abortion a constitutional right in a historic vote today in France. Under the message, my body, my vote, my choice.
The French are onto something. They always have been, though, haven't they?
They like cheese. I like cheese. They like champagne. I used to like champagne.
Liberty, equality, fraternity. Liberty, equality, and brotherhood.
All brought together with the use of another little element of their society known as the guillotine. There's not quite as many aristocrats as there used to be. What happened to your aristocrats?
Well, they did get they got a little carried away with that.
We have a few left, but not as many as we once had.
Yes. What's that rolling down the street? You don't want to know.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, it's so I don't, I used to say this.
By the way, in the world of irony, the guillotine was an invention of Dr. Guillotine. Yes, he was a physician, but he came up with this other idea. I know we're here to support the life form on our planet, but there's another thing we can do. We can chop up their heads.
Well, that was built as a humane way of getting rid of people who had outlived their usefulness to society, wasn't it?
Who were a bit of a nuisance, yeah.
who had no longer any worth to society as a whole because they stole, they cheated, they lied, they did whatever they could do to remove themselves from society.
To insulate themselves from reality.
And so Dr. Guillotine saw an opportunity there to at least give them a painless death. And I don't know that I mean, I hope I never find out, but I'm thinking to myself that you don't, when they lower that blade,
It
the
comes
last
fast.
thing the last thing you see is that ant crawling along the ground, and you never see it get to where it's going. And I don't think you feel. I mean, I would imagine you don't feel much of anything. You probably die of a heart attack before the thing ever hits your neck. And on that happens,
Can you turn around and lie on your back and watch the blade come? Or do you
I
have to
don't know,
what?
Michael.
Do
I
you have
hope
to watch
you
the other
never
way?
have that choice.
You want to face upsies or you want a downsy?
I hope you never have that choice.
Could I have one of each, please?
I hope that I don't ever have to think about that question. I'm terrified of that of the whole question. So let's just let's say that we're just going to try to do everything we can not to get into that position.
So who's playing third base for the Seattle Mariners?
That's a good question.
In fact, that was a good question that you could ask the San Francisco Giants until a couple days ago.
Well, yes, I saw that. I almost texted you on Friday because I saw that. What were we talking about Friday morning?
Yeah, we didn't know.
Who were the Giants going to bring in to give them a little pop? Was there somebody out there that the Giants would look at and say, "Boy, there's somebody that I could use a little power in the lineup," and they went out and they got, I don't know, was that the best free agent or probably certainly in the top 4 or 5 that were left on the market, right?
Well, it was something that we needed. We needed a bat, but we just couldn't have a bat anywhere. We had too many outfielders, so we didn't need another outfielder unless we had superpower from him, and there was nobody like that available. Matt Chapman, who came up with the Oakland A's, became a star, became a power hitter, went to the Blue Jays and continued his work there, became a free agent and turned down an offer from the Blue Jays and got a $54 million deal with the Giants. Now we have a third baseman with power and a Golden Glove infielder. That's a pretty good deal for $54 million in today's terms.
Right, and I guess they figured out at some point that Sandoval was not going to be the answer at third base.
Well, he can be a lot of things, but he can't be a better third baseman than Matt Chapman.
Not be in that.
Third base is good, but he's not a better third baseman, and his age belies his opportunity being a serious one with the Giants. I think Sandoval would be better off at first base.
Well, I think he probably, if he does make the club, and he's there trying to make it like a bunch of other non-roster invitees, doesn't cost him anything except the per diem to have him there. And if they catch a little lightning in a bottle, well, how great is that?
I think well, we know he can hit.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to watch that. But that, a nice move for the Giants. Listen, both on the field and I suspect off the field. It didn't seem to me that that Giants fans were overly excited. At least the ones I was talking to didn't seem to feel overly excited
About anything.
about the team or about much of anything. It appeared that um, we're in spring training and we'll go down and go to the Pink Pony and go watch some games at Scottsdale Stadium. But that San Francisco Phoenix run was maybe not as participated as much in this year as in years gone by. This adds a little oomph to it. This adds some interest. This makes people go, hey.
They got a pitcher from Korea. They got a center fielder from Korea. They got a new third baseman. They got a power hitting designated hitter, and they're going to need all those things because, as we mentioned on Friday, 5 of their starters from their established starting rotation are on the injured list for the start of the season.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I thought was interesting is it seemed to me, according to what you were saying and what I was reading, that their biggest need was rotation help. That was, really what the direction that they would be looking in. But when you get a chance to sign a player like this, you go for it, right?
I think you do.
Yeah. I mean, when you get a chance to
Dodgers made their moves early, Giants made their moves late, and they did some good catching up.
Yeah, I just wonder why and maybe it buys into the whole thing we were talking about Friday about collusion. Why did this guy sit on the bench for so long? Why was he still on the shelf in that free agent market here 2 full weeks after spring training has started?
Maybe because his history was with 2 marginal teams, the A's and the Blue Jays.
Well, either way it works out, it's a great thing for the Giants. It's going to create. It has created. Not going to create. It has created a ton of interest in a team that really, the Giants fans are going to be the Giants fans. They're going to go to games and then so on and so forth. But there was a certain pall over the team in the early going where you just didn't feel like it was. And it's kind of strange because they got Bob Melvin. You would think that this is it's not like they didn't sign anybody.
Well, it's they watched the Dodgers sweep the field.
Right. But the Dodgers decided that they were going to clean out the bank vault.
Yeah, it's empty.
And there wasn't the Giants just weren't going to do that. But they made a splash here. People are interested in the team again. The fringe people. The fans are the fans. They're going to go no matter who's playing third base or what. They're going to go to games. They're going to buy their season ticket package and their 3 games or 6 games or 10 games, and they're going to go to those 10 games. That's a given. But the more casual, hey, let's go down to the ballpark person. The person who, don't forget that this year you have all of this humbo jumbo going on with the regional sports networks and everything, where they're vying for numbers.
And the financing is shaky for the first time.
Right. Is it a situation where somebody is going to be interested in the team because they have him at Chapman? So maybe they'll go and they'll turn on the television and watch the game and bring the numbers up a little bit. So it translates to more sales, more higher rates for the team, for their advertising sales, because, I think the Giants are on that same plane where they have a piece of advertising sales.
And they have a piece of their radio sales too.
Yeah. I mean, so it behooves them to make a move like this. So you know, it's an exciting move. You're excited about it, right? You're a Giant. You're a longtime Giants fan. You're jumping up for joy, jumping up and down for joy, right?
We haven't had a Golden Glove third baseman since Matt Williams, I would think.
Well, that's
And he's coaching third now.
it's nice for it's nice for Chapman, and he's reunited with Bob Melvin.
I
They
think
were
Melvin
together.
was a yes.
Yeah, they were together over in Oakland. Um, so he comes back
Back to the Bay.
to a place that he's familiar with, which I always think, people, because there's not a lot of two-team markets, people don't talk about that too much. But I think that there is something to be said for that familiarity. Maybe even in the case of Ohtani, who really, if he didn't want to, probably didn't even have to move, right? Stay in the same place, same house he was in.
He can make a down payment on a new apartment if he wants to.
Right, he can have a little something closer to the stadium if he'd like, but if he has a nice beach house out in Manhattan Beach or something like that, or
It's a long commute to Dodger Stadium.
yeah, but it's not an undoable. I mean, with that kind of money, he can go by helicopter.
You can buy me one too, and I don't even want one.
So, no, good move for the Giants. Again, you wanted to create some excitement. You did that. You wanted to get yourself a guy that can whack the ball, that can play. It's funny you mentioned Matt Williams, but that's the kind of guy really that Chapman is, right? I mean, he's that kind of consistent.
And he's bigger
what you're
too.
going to get every day.
He's a big kid.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know. I haven't covered him, so I don't know what he's like in the clubhouse. But I would have to think that this is the kind of guy who sets a tone, if you will. And I know that a lot of people don't put a lot of credence in that, but I do. And I
It's
saw
a
what
long
happened.
season. It's a long season in that room.
Yes, and there's a lot of clubs that when they get to that 110th game or 120th game, things start to get a little wacky.
And you're sick of the hot dog.
Yeah, and the
Got a
people.
hot dog at second base.
Yes, the hot dog at second base. The guy who's in the locker next to you who always wears that cologne that you can't. I mean, there's a number of things that go on in a season because it's a big family.
You're a millionaire. Enough with the English leather already.
Exactly. Here, go here. Here's some. Try this. It's from Halston. You'll like it.
It's a fragrance. It ain't a smell.
Or more importantly, somebody goes and steals the bottle of English leather. So for $2.98 bottle of cologne, and I use that term loosely, now one half of your infield isn't talking to the other half of your
infield. You got a war room instead. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And we've all seen the end result of that. Teams with an excellent chance to win, not even making the playoffs.
It's a corrosive part of the relationship that the public doesn't appreciate enough.
Well, and again, I think there's a lot of people in the media that sell that short. Chemistry among a team, a tone set in the clubhouse.
The funny thing about Barry Bonds was he was a great player. We knew he was a jerk to the press, but he was a jerk to everybody. He was a jerk to the guy next to him. He was a jerk to the team. He was a jerk to his teammates. He was a jerk to the manager. He was a jerk to everybody. And he went out of his way to be a jerk. And that gets old in a hurry.
Yeah, especially
despite the amazing ability he had to hit home runs.
When you live with when you live with people, as happens on a baseball team. It's not just that you show up at work. It's not a locker room; it's a clubhouse. And the fact that you have a clubhouse where everybody has to exist with each other.
And the last guy on the bus is always the same guy. You wait for the one guy every day.
Right. And people eventually somebody has to talk with them, or this or that or the other thing. I mean, there's so many different things that go on that, it's to have that harmony in the clubhouse um, is something that I think is the mark of most championship teams. There are exceptions, the Yankees of the 70s. Um, didn't all get along. There was a lot of conflict there, and you had a manager who liked stirring up the conflict,
Who started it?
who thought that the conflict was actually good for the team.
Remember the swinging A's? They were swinging at each other.
Yeah, yeah, Bando and company. Yeah, they were. They were. Yeah, there were a bunch of guys you wouldn't want to get caught in a ball with.
You
But
don't want to
then,
mix
but
liquor with
the
that crew.
exceptions, I think, to the rules. The Mets of the '80s. You know, what's the old saying that they used to use? 25 players, 25 taxis. Which meant that every player went their own way. And
And that's okay
it's
as
not
long as they
hard.
can play together.
Yeah, it's not hard to have that happen on a club. It's not hard to all of a sudden be a manager and see you and feel yourself losing your players. And all of a sudden,
And that's the
you're,
manager's job to fix it.
yeah. I mean, that was something that I mean, from watching Pinella, I mean, he knew how to play that violin masterfully.
Did he have captains on the team?
Um, no, I don't think he. No, no. I'm trying to think if they ever made Junior a captain, but I don't think they did. I mean, I think Edgar was kind of the de facto um, captain, if you will. But nobody wore a C on their uniform or any crap like that because you had. I mean, you think about it when Pinella was here, they had a lot of stars here. You had a ton of people here that I'm sure could have looked at themselves and said, "Well, gee, I could be captain of this team,
Or I should be captain.
or I should be captain." So I think maybe that was one of those things that was better left. You know, got a
When
problem in the
the
clubhouse? Go see Edgar. Go see
when the,
Buhner.
or go
Uh,
see the Kangaroo Court.
yeah, yeah. Griffey wasn't that guy. He
No.
was never that the material of captain material, what I would call, or Edgar was always the leader of the Spanish players because they all had such a reputation
Right.
that they all looked up to him. I mean, to
And he
play with
was,
Edgar Martinez was an honor.
but also he was sensible.
Yeah, and he was. He wasn't. He wasn't a nut job. He wasn't out running around at all hours of the night. He was doing his thing, and his dedication to being the best at what he did and being visible about it was really was a pleasure to watch. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
watching him with the tennis ball and how much work he put in with the tennis ball on a string so he could better his eye coordination. You don't see guys doing that. in a major league clubhouse. But here's Edgar, arguably the best designated hitter in the game, and he's every day he's practicing. He's got the ball on the string, and he's got
Otherwise, you stop hitting doubles.
division coach is there, and he's coming up with new things, and young players see that, and they say, "Oh, well, that's how you get good."
Show me what you're doing there, Edgar. Show me about that.
Yeah, I'll show you. You get this ball and you put it on a string, and you work on your hand-eye coordination. You get into the clubhouse, not at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
And what good does that do? Well, I hit doubles, and if you hit it to the outfielder, that's a single. So I have to hit it between them. That's a double.
Yeah,
have you ever
you
heard
get
of
the
that?
chance where you hit the ball a lot more.
Exactly. Hit it where they ain't. That's why there's alleys.
Exactly.
That's why there's a line.
And that's why these guys, again, the Latin players used to, would look up to Edgar. He would be their hero. I mean, they all knew about him, and he was somebody that and not. I'm not going to say Chapman is Edgar Martinez, but every manager wants to have a guy like that in the clubhouse.
Well, you know for a fact that Bob Melvin didn't say you can bring in Matt Chapman, but I would veto it if I were you. He said, "Bring him in, get him in here now."
Yeah, I'm sure he encouraged it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't followed them enough to know what their relationship is like, or so on and so forth. But I would think. I mean, Chapman was in Oakland a long time, right?
A few years. Plus, that's where he got his shot. That's where he became a player.
Yeah, so it would be interesting to me, and I'm sure we'll find out at some point. But yeah, guys want to go with it with people that they're familiar with.
And Oakland dumped him so they wouldn't have to pay him.
Yeah, boy, I tell you, man, it's just now again, I never not until you get 50 to 70 at bats in spring training can you really tell anything about anything.
Right.
But boy, oh boy, the Mariners, man, I mean, they've won one game.
Giants maybe have won one or two.
Excuse me?
The Giants maybe have won one or two.
Yeah, and I don't put a lot of credence in that this time of year. What do they look like on
We're 2-5. Giants are 2-5 as of
yeah,
today.
what did they look like on March 15th? Well, St. Patty's Day is usually the kind of that dividing line.
When you stop saying it's still early, or you can say it, but it's not true.
Yeah, well, you can say it's still early up until the third week in September.
Usually we should be cut off in August, but not necessarily.
Yeah, but for the most part, I didn't even know this. But as I look at the Mariners roster, did you know that they had a player on their roster, number 71? He's a catcher named Scheffler.
No. Is he a Boilermaker?
M. Scheffler.
Monsieur.
Don't know much about him except that he's Matt Scheffler. He's 26 years old and has no stories about him. He's wearing number 71. So maybe at some point in Safeco Field, in the ballpark, T-Mobile Park this year, we'll be there late in the game, and it'll be a tie game, and you'll hear the crowd going, "Chef, Chef, Chef, Chef." From Matt Scheffler.
Where is Scheffler these days?
He was in Michigan, I believe. He had a last time I talked to him about a year ago, maybe a little more than that, and he married that nice girl that he was going out with years ago, and I think they have a couple of kids. And he was running a food business, a food distributorship that I think was his own business.
Mhm.
I got, you know what? I got to dig out his card and call him. I got to see how he's doing. You know what? I bet you he'd have fun coming on with us.
We could bang the boards one more time.
He always liked us, Mike. He always was a fan of our show and what we did. He was, and you know what? He was such a good guy.
Well, the
I
fans
mean,
loved him. The
well,
fans
the fans
preferred
loved
duck.
him, and he knew what he was there for.
But when he came off the bench, he came off the bench like a hurricane.
Yeah, yeah. But he knew, you know, he knew he wasn't there. You know, he knew he was there to do exactly that, to pump the crowd up. You know, almost like a cheerleader.
Yeah.
You know, more than a player. But
All he had to do was stand up.
the way the Coliseum would go nuts when you know he pulled off his warm up suit. I mean, it was something to see. And
He didn't come into the game. He announced it. I am coming.
he had a routine which brought him into the game. It wasn't just you know it was an entrance. He had an entrance.
Passion. A lot of passion for
Yeah,
the game.
usually with the crowd going chef, chef. You know the crowd going chef, and he was passionate about getting in, and the crowd was passionate about seeing him. Usually it meant that you were blowing somebody out if you were if you saw a chef in a game, or you were getting blown out, one or the other,
Yep.
one way or the other. And in those days, the Sonics blew people out much more than they were getting blown out. I mean, those
I was
were
thinking of George Karl the other day because he loved defense so much. I wonder where he would find a home in the NBA now, where defense is an afterthought.
yeah, um, yeah. I don't think he'd want anything to do with today's NBA. Be honest with you. I mean, I don't know. He does, you know, he does that Sonic show with Gas Man every once in a while. I don't know how many times they put up episodes of that, but I haven't seen one come up in a while. And other than that, I know he was battling cancer. I think he came
Right.
up on the good side of that
I think so.
because he's still around, but he's very small compared to what he was when we knew when we were seeing him every day. But he's a fighter.
Always.
He's a fighter. He's I got a lot of admiration. I got a lot of love for George Carl, man. I got a lot of love for that guy. He's a good guy. A little wacky, a little tough to work with at times, but the good ones usually are, right?
Sometimes he'd make up his mind about a player and refuse to change that mind.
Yes, that was and was probably the cause of his demise here in Seattle. Um, Unfortunately. Uh,
Not that things got better when he left.
no, no, things didn't get better when he left. I mean, there was a magic between him, George, Carl, coach, and the players and the city, and it was one of those times when everything just fell into place. It was especially before they renovated the Key Arena.
Yeah, when it was a dump, it was a better team.
It was a better team and it was a better vibe. The vibe in the place changed when they did the construction work. It turned it into just something really different. Maybe it was easier to walk around uh, the Coliseum when they finished fixing it, when they finished the renovation, but the old sweatbox. I always used to love the thing I loved about the old Coliseum is when, you'd go down and they had the vomitorium. Remember the vomitorium
Yes.
where they would bring them, they'd have to rope it off when the players were, at halftime, you'd go and stand over there by where the players came out from the court and they'd walk into their to the locker room and everybody was standing there. They just put ropes up and had people stand back.
Stand back. Here come the players. Here they come.
Here come the players, and and then boom, they'd open it up again. But I always thought that was such a uniquely Seattle thing. Where else in America could you?
It was like a high school gym. You could get under the seats.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. It was, it was danky. It was old. The locker rooms weren't the best in the NBA by any means, but you know what? It was a good place to. It was a great place to watch a game. It was a hot building. That building, there was always noise in that building.
And hot and loud.
Hot and loud. It was like what is it? A Five Guys hamburger. It was hot. It was loud. It was greasy. And it probably wasn't good for you, but boy, oh boy, did it feel good. And Saturday night in that place was amazing.
Remember when the Cleveland Cavaliers came to town? They had a guy named Doherty, and someone had a big sign, just like the Wizard of Oz, "Surrender Doherty." One of my favorite signs of all time.
Yeah, Brad Doherty. And they boy oh boy, it was funny how they just jumped on him. Him, Karl Malone. They used to
Malone and Stockton, Jesus.
Stockton and Malone they would jump on.
It seemed like it would never end.
And it was it was amazing. Yeah, I miss those days, Michael. That was those were just such, everybody, the egos hadn't gotten to everybody yet. There was a point in our early career where it was just like a family. I mean, you had the crazy little stepbrother, Kevin Wall, and gas. It was just it was a cool assemblage of people. Except for Kevin. He was a little strange.
No comment.
Kevin was a interesting cat. One line only. Before we go, we have to note the passing of a guy that was a friend to our show for many years. Matter of fact, we spent a day with him down at the Super Bowl in Miami, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. But Chris Mortensen passed away over the weekend.
He was ill for a long time.
Yeah, he had left ESPN 3-4 years ago at least, maybe even more. He had ironically throat cancer, and I guess he eventually succumbed to it this last week. But
and one of our disc jockeys from the West Coast, Gino Michelini.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that. It was I mean, we're at the age where all these people are passing now, but more, I mean, he and John Clayton
invented the Football Insider.
Yeah, invented the whole concept of what Jim Florio and all of these guys are now. There was nobody like that before Mortensen and Clayton came along.
Nope, and they both work for ESPN.
And maybe the closest thing you had, but he wasn't a football insider, was Howard Cosell.
Right.
But Howard was definitely more of a play-by-play guy, a color guy, and he knew a little bit about everything, as opposed to a
Speaking
guy
of
like
sports,
as opposed to a guy like Mortensen or Clayton, who
they majored in
there was
football.
anything you could ask him that they wouldn't know. They were on the phone constantly
Every day.
to general managers and to managers and to ball boys and locker room attendants and anybody that they could glean a piece of information from. I remember standing with Clayton once, and he took a phone call from the guy who guarded the gate at the San Diego Chargers facility.
Been there for 20 years.
Guy knows where all the skeletons are buried, man.
You can tell which player it is by the car pulling into the lot.
Well, yeah, but this is a guy that knew that this player had, they brought this guy in, brought that guy in. These are the guys that make. I mean, yeah, you got to know the general managers and the stuff like that. You got to know that, but you also got to know the clubhouse attendants. You got to know the parking lot gate guy. You got to know the people that the front desk receptionist. Because those are the ones that are going to tell you, well, oh, yeah, this guy was here yesterday and that guy was here today and his agent.
It was a visit, but a very short one. Oh,
yeah.
what do you
Boris,
mean? Well,
Boris came in. He was here about an hour and then he left. Those are the people that you get more information from than what a general manager is ever going to tell you. They're not going to tell you till it's a done deal. And not that you don't have to know those guys or women, but you really, you get the information that you get from the gate attendants and the people in the lobby and so on and so forth allows you to go up to the general manager and say, well, wait, I know that Joe Marinats was here for an hour and a half yesterday.
What was the price? What did you pay him?
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, rest in peace, Chris. He was on the show with us a few times. I remember we were in Miami for press day, and I remember we were talking to him for about an hour or something. He was
that was
near us hanging out, and then
San Diego Chargers and the 49ers.
Yeah, when I did the evening show, he was on. Used to come on like every couple of weeks, and always would come on. One of those guys that would like Clay would always come on because he understood that all of these markets added to his brand.
Oh, yes.
The more people he could get listening to him, the better it was for his brand. And his brand was knowing the stuff that you don't about the NFL.
Knowing the stuff that the beat writer doesn't know.
Right. And it was always amazing how Clayton, him and Clayton, especially Clayton, would get stuff that you were like, you'd ask one of the beat writers and they'd say, I don't know, I didn't hear anything about that. And it'd be Clayton saying who they signed and, the one past the beat writer. Now, I don't know how they did that, except that I know that they had great relations with, I don't want to say the little people, but, the working people in these facilities.
Those in the know, say.
Yeah, those who park the cars, who work the door, who do all the different things that the PR guy isn't going to tell you and the general manager isn't going to tell you. But if you go to them with this piece of information, yeah, maybe they're going to tell you some stuff.
Can you confirm or deny?
Yeah. All right, Mikey.
All right, Vinnie, we'll see you for a Wacky Wednesday.
Yes, let's get together on Wednesday. I'm going to sit here and figure out this ballot and figure what I'm going to do with it.
I'm going to go put mine in the Dropbox as soon as Kristen and I compare notes.
All right, you guys compare notes, and then we will match up with each other again next well, this coming Wednesday morning.
It'll be the day after Super Tuesday.
The day after Super Tuesday, so we should have a lot to talk about, politics-wise.
Let me know if you vote for Nikki Haley.
Probably be anointed on Tuesday,
or change his diapers, one or the other.
Oh man, just as, God save the Queen. What can I say? All right, Mikey. See you Wednesday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. Until then, always remember, Mikey, peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
And you remember, it's quite a wine.
See you, Mikey.